Welcome, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, to the new black media. This video is about Attorney General William Barr, who says there must be zero tolerance for resisting police, and he also went after social justice reformers in a heated speech to the United States' largest law enforcement organization. So Attorney General William Barr delivered an emotionally charged speech defending law enforcement this week to the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP, for its 64th biennial conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. FOP is the United States' largest fraternal police organization. Quote, "To my mind, there is no more noble profession than serving as a police officer," unquote, Barr said. "You put your own life and well-being on the line to protect your communities," unquote. Well, first of all, Mr. Barr, there may not be any other noble profession than serving as a police officer because of course you're protecting and serving communities, not just your communities. So I want to make that correction. And there is no other noble profession than a police officer if the person wearing that uniform and badge are good people. But when they're wearing a badge and a uniform and they're racist, and their only agenda is to go out in their day and hopefully get a chance to harass and perhaps kill a black human being, those people wearing those uniforms are not good police officers at all. In fact, they are what we describe as racial soldiers, or you can call them racist soldiers. Certainly not police officers. But I digress. He added, quote, "Your families spend anxious nights so we can sleep in peace. You never know what your day may bring, what uncertainty, danger, or threat you might face. But you still get up, put on your uniform and badge, kiss your loved ones, and head out to face whatever risk might come your way," unquote. Well, before I continue, Mr. Barr, let me remind you that as they put on that uniform, kiss their loved ones, and head out to face their day, that day may include harassing and or killing unarmed black people to where they're going to be able to punch out at the end of their shift, write up a report, go home, have dinner, and go to bed. And meanwhile, the families of those who you kill, instead of allowing the court system to run its course and allow the judge to do his job, you racist soldiers out there parading around as police officers, you are deciding the judge to be the judge right there in the streets. This system fails. But I digress. But Barr went on to say that police officers are, quote, "fighting a different type of war, an unrelenting, never-ending fight against criminal predators in our society," unquote. Yes, Mr. Barr, some of those criminal predators happen to be right in the FOP. You seem to overlook the fact that there's already been evidence that's come out that the police organizations across America have been infiltrated by the KKK and neo-Nazis. Are you Bugs Bunny? Because that's when I'm starting to think that I can't take you serious after reading this report and some of the things you're saying. You sound like a racist idiot protecting these type of people in police uniforms that are out here killing black and brown people, but especially black people. This is a racist agenda that definitely is going on, even though you deny it. You deny it so much that you have a title for black people as black identity extremists, but yet you have white people who are doing mass shootings, bombings around the world, and you fail to even mention that they're even what they are. Except the European countries call their terrorists what they are. See, I'm proud of them because in Oslo, Norway, where that racist tried to do a mass shooting, well, he actually did, didn't he? He succeeded, didn't he? Well, they're charging him for what he is, a terrorist. But see, in America, you guys have this agenda not to charge white males for the crimes that they do. It's called a lack of accountability. You guys have that issue going on, and everybody sees it. But I digress. So, quote, even in a healthy society, violence, lawlessness, and predation lie just below the surface, the Attorney General said. In the final analysis, what stands between chaos and carnage on the one hand and the civilized and tranquil society we all yearn for is the thin blue line of law enforcement. Well, all I can tell you, Bugs Bunny, is that that's a crock of shit. Because half the times, those police officers are right in the middle of the mess, creating some of it. So he goes on to say, you are the ones manning the ramparts, day in and day out. Yeah, they're closer than you think to the problem. So after telling the crowd that, quote, we need to get back to basics, Barr said that public figures in the media and elsewhere should, quote, underscore the need to comply first and, if warranted, complain later. So he's acting like people don't comply when they are asked. A lot of times people are put in really bad positions. A lot of times these people are mentally ill. Don't you realize that, Attorney General Barr? Because you seem to think that most all the white males are mentally ill. Don't you think that the police should consider that when they're arresting people? And the statement that you're making about this complying and all this whole article is a crock of shit. Don't you think that when you guys are constantly bringing up the excuse of, quote, mentally ill for white males? That's a question I'd like to hear you answer, Mr. Barr. But anyway, he says, quote, this will make everyone safe. The police, suspects, and the community at large, he said. And those who resist must be prosecuted for that crime. We must have zero tolerance for resisting police. This will save lives. You know what, Mr. Barr? You shouldn't even be an attorney general because you sound dumb as shit. You sound dumb as shit. When I read these things, and if you actually said these things, you shouldn't even be an attorney general. And it just goes to show why our country is so jacked up. And you can't ask me to go to another country because this is my country. My country that my ancestors built, not yours. So being that we were the builders of this country and you just stole it, you don't have any say, because the righteous people of the world, they're not going to stand up to your evil anymore. So you can't tell other people to go anywhere. You are the ones who should be leaving. But that's another story. But anyways, it continues by saying Barr's comments come at a time when the police are under heightened scrutiny in the U.S. on several fronts. In particular, the law enforcement community has faced criticism over allegations of systemic brutality and bigotry in some communities. No, you mean in the black communities. That's the way that line should actually read, because that's who is mostly happening to. And when you have a majority of a group that's being attacked, that's what you should put in your articles, unless you're running propaganda or an agenda. And so I want to expose the truth here and now and let people know exactly what you're doing here. Barr took over as Attorney General in February and has long championed a, quote, tough on crime approach similar to that espoused by Donald Trump. During his speech on Monday, Barr singled out local prosecutors for being soft on crime and accused them of making police officers' jobs more difficult. Mr. Barr, you're not that stupid. The police are the ones who's making their jobs more difficult. Either they're making it more difficult by shooting unarmed black men, women, and children, and they have no valid explanation, or they're simply not doing their jobs, coming up with the murder suspects when you guys claim that it's black on black crime in Chicago and you have no suspects or witnesses or anything to go on other than your words. But I digress. It continues by saying, quote, there is another development that is demoralizing to law enforcement and dangerous to public safety, he said. That is the emergence in some of our large cities of district attorneys that styled themselves as, quote, social justice reformers who spend their time undercutting the police, letting criminals off the hook, and refusing to enforce the law, unquote. Well, Mr. Barr, you're the law that is failing to enforce the law. They're failing to criminalize and prosecute your police officers. Shouldn't you feel good about that? So you like your system one way, but you don't like it another. You guys are so hypocritical, it's not even funny. You contradict yourself the majority of the times, and half the time you have no explanation for your bullshit. It would be nice if for once in you guys' pathetic existence to come on and have an explanation for your bullshit. It would be nice to hear from you, especially on the topics that we raise, not deflecting onto some other bullshit, because we know that's how white fragility works. You deflect onto other issues. No, stick to the issues here. Lastly, Barr went on to praise the law enforcement efforts made under the administrations of former Reagan, Clinton, and Bush, however, criticized former Barack Obama before going on to lavish praise on Trump. Isn't that something? But then he added that more work still needs to be done and pledged to, quote, double down on our attack on violent crime. So I'm going to read this one part one more time because I want to make it clear, because I know I ran through it because really I knew it was bullshit, but I'm going to read it just to be fair. It says, Barr went on to praise the law enforcement efforts made under the administrations of former presidents Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush, but criticized former President Barack Obama before going on to lavish praise on Trump. And then he goes on to say, but more work needs to be done. But you guys hear the BS. Anyways, you tell me what you think in the comment section. Thank you so much for paying attention and watching, and thank you for your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Peace out.